We are live. Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Today's shir is being sponsored Lili Nishmas Imi Rus Pas Mordechai and L'schos a zivug hagun for Mishayohu ben Rus, who happens to be my brother, my youngest brother. Today's shir is being sponsored L'Fur Shlema for my mother, Miral Bas Rachel Leah, that she should come out of the hospital in time for Rosh Hashanah. Amen. Shana Tova to all of you, and I want to start sponsoring the emails too, and hope it catches on. He wants to do $1,000 sponsorship, I think. We got to talk. It might be too cheap. In the merit and memory of Menachem Mendel ben Simcha. Who is that, Rabbi Isai? Kalman from? Okay. Don't even ask, says Nachum Seltzer. In the merit and memory of Menachem Mendel ben Simcha, Hashem should give my wife, children, and entire family, which includes, his family includes, Reb Eli and the MDY family, Shana Toivo Metuka, Shkoyach Kalman, Avada, Shkoyach. So they don't see it. Yeah. This is a high-class establishment. Everybody's real quick here from Kalman. There won't be an email today. Instead, I want to say a couple words about Rosh Hashanah. And he says, "Hi, Rebelli, I'm sponsoring the last year of the year. Merit and memory of Menachem Mendel ben Simcha. Hashem should give my wife and Reb Yosef and Reb Eli and the entire MDY family, including my good friends Ben, Avram Meir, and the 5 towns MDY group. Even though Yeshua changed our name without consulting me, Shana Tova Metuka. While others might remember this year as a bad one, COVID, protesters, etc., of course, was the year that I lost my beloved father. Remember, this one is the year which Ken. I give you permission to say it here, but please do not say it anymore. Fully transformed into Kalman. No longer Ken. I remember the first emails were Ken, and then it's changed into Kalman. With your share and learning the daf being the driving force by my transformation. My dad passed away only a few days after we started brachas. Having never started Daf Yomi, would have been so easy to stop, but I didn't, Baruch Hashem. From the start, you captivated me and was really upset when my Rebbe forbid me from learning Torah and watching the shir while I was sitting Shiva. That's exactly what Shiva is all about, having that tsar of not learning. Fast forward to now, and I haven't fallen behind one day since, one day not even, he hasn't fallen behind. I never had one seam in 57 years. And now I've done 2. With my Rebbe now, Shalom Woodmer, and others with you for Shabbos, which will always be special, even though I was in quarantine in Ben's pool during a rainstorm. I look forward to your next get-together with Noam next week. With our next get-together with Noam next week, I heard Ben is treating us for a steak dinner after the fast. Thank you again, Rebelli. I love you and wish you and your family a good gebench to Yar, Kalman of the 5 towns. So Rabbi Sai, as we're standing here before Rosh Hashanah, I must take this opportunity to ask each and every single one of you, Mechila. I love my job, but it comes with a hazard. The job is very hazardous. This is a public forum, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu benched me with a very weak filter. And occasionally, I snap at somebody in middle shir. I have to ask Mechila from Judah. I once snapped at him. Lawrence Spiegelman was new to the shir. He almost left the shir. What is going on here? I said, but his phone rang in middle shir. I had to yell at him. Not realizing all these people that were listening, etc. So I want to ask you, Mechila, if I called you an Amaritz, and you're really a Talmud Chacham, or even if you're really an Amaritz, and I called you out in public. So I want to ask you, Mechila, I hope you, seriously, if you could dig in and be moichel me for being late for the shir. All right, I want to tell you a Mordecai Maisa that I heard from Yitzchak Zilberstein, which I had the schus of living in his neighborhood for 3 years when I was a kid in Ramat Chanan in Bnei Brak. So a person came to him and said, Rabbi Zilberstein, it says there's a tefillah that some people say by Achais Ktana, it says, Shana shetichla shana v'kila leisea V'tachel shanu birchasel. Tichla is the lashon of stop the klala, stop the curse, and start up a year of brachas. So he says to Rabbi Zilberstein, please give me a bracha that the curses should stop. And Rabbi Zilberstein looked at him and said, you're mechutzef. You made a shidduch, 2 of your kids got married this year, and you're saying it's a year of a curse. So Rabbi said, this year, for almost every one of us, probably one of the worst years of our life. And we're looking at it and we're saying, Hashem, stop already with the klala, etc. But we have to dig down and say, look at all the good that we had. And especially if we look at the MDY mishpacha and where we've been a year ago at this point and where we are today. And how many new friends and the camaraderie and the Torah that we added to our life. So we would be mechutzafim if we said, this is a bad year. For me, the best year of my life. So my bracha to everybody is that we should have a year of better dveikus in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what better way to do it than with Torah? Learning Torah to be Davgan Hashem. And we do it with Torah, Chesed, Havas Yisrael, Tefillah at the end. We have our Tehillim. So it should be a year of refuah. We shouldn't know of any more tsaras and no more COVID. Nachas from our children. Tremendous shalom bayis. Parnasa. I know so many of us were hurt with Parnasa. I think every single one of us was hurt with Parnasa. I don't think you could get out of it unless you sell masks or something like that. And a year, basically, a year of Kedusha and Dveikus and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a good Kibben Shior, Ksiv Chasima Toiva. And now, let's jump into the Sugya.
Everyone promised me to bring at least 2 people for next year.
Yeah, bring your friends. Next year, this time, let's have at least double the amount of people watching. Zog De'ele Gemara. So we're holding Daf Lamed Tes Amud Beis in the middle. So the Gemara was telling us a story how they trapped the deer on the first day of Yontiv. They shechted the deer on the second day of Yontiv. They had venison, Rav Nachman and Rav Chizda. They ate it on the second day of Yontiv. They held as 2 separate days. Rav Sheshis was makbid. He says, no, I can't eat it. And he even quotes Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Yosi says, Rabbi Yosi oiser b'shnei yamim tovim shel galuyos. He asers and he says that the 2 days we have to be makbid on the second day in Golos, in America, in South Africa, in England, all the Goloses in Australia I see we have here today. Like the 2 days, so in other words, the way we learn the Gemara, Rabbi Yosi holds that the 2 days of Golos are similar to the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. In other words, it's one long, it's Kedusha Achas, and you can't eat it, says Rosh Hashanah. So then we had Rava who says, Dilma hachi kamar v'chein hoyer Rabbi Yosi oiser b'shnei yom tovim shel Rosh Hashanah b'goyla. That we're not Yosi saying that it's aser, that it's such an isser like Rosh Hashanah. What we're saying is, it's like, it's a weekend, he's mekel. Rabbi Yosi is mekel when it comes to the second day. But the question is, why in America and Golos it should be goyla like in Eretz Yisrael, like Rosh Hashanah in Eretz Yisrael, where we know for a fact 1 day is completely chol. Omer Avasi, here we are. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 lines from the bottom. Omer Avasi. Umay kushya. Dilma hachi ka'amar. V'chein hoyer Rabbi Yosi oisa isur shnei yamim tovim shel galuyos. Perhaps Rabbi Yosi said the isur of Golos kishnei yamim tovim shel Rosh Hashanah l'Rabbana d'sharu. So basically, Rosh Hashanah and Eretz Yisrael, according to Chachamim, is okay. It's 2 kedushas. I can make 2 Eruvin. I could eat venison on the second day if it was trapped on the first day. It's not. What's the problem? If it's trapped on the first day, what's the difference between the first day and the second day? It's 48-hour, 1 kedusha from beginning to end. It's as if it was trapped on the second day. The answer is, it's 2 kedushas. In Eretz Yisrael, Rosh Hashanah is 2 kedushas according to Chachamim. So all the Gemara was saying is that Rabbi Yosi makes Pesach, Sukkot, Shavuos in Chutz La'aretz, like Chachamim in Eretz Yisrael and Rosh Hashanah. That's why I made a chart. It's a little bit, see what's going on here? Rosh Hashanah and Eretz Yisrael, according to Chachamim, is 2 Kedushas. So Rabbi Yossi made Pesach, Sukkot, 2 Kedushas. The point is that's 2 Kedushas like Eretz Yisrael, Rosh Hashanah, according to Chachamim. It's a lot of information. Eretz Yisrael, Rosh Hashanah, according to Chachamim, equals 2 Kedushas. So Rabbi Yossi in Chutz La'aretz on Pesach and Sukkot equals 2 Kedushas. The bottom line is, they're telling Rav Sheshes, why can't you eat from the venison? Rabbi Yossi himself, who holds 1 Kedusha on Rosh Hashanah, will admit that it's 2 Kedushas when it comes to Bavel, where they were, and it was another Yontif, it wasn't Rosh Hashanah. Why don't you eat from the venison? Says the Gemara, see it inside. He made the Isser of the 2 days of Yontif like Pesach. Let's pretend the story happened on Pesach or Sukkot. 2 days of Pesach, like the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, L'Rabbanan, or according to Rabbanan, this Sharu will say it's 2 Kedushas. Says the Gemara, Amor Dika Maisa. Let's see if you can remember this Maisa. Ashkechei Rav Sheshes L'Rabbi Bar Shmuel. Rav Sheshes bumped into Rabbi Bar Shmuel. Omar Lei, Tani Mar Midi B'Kedushos. Could you tell me anything that you learned about 1 Kedusha, 2 Kedushas, on 2 Yom Tovim, on Rosh Hashanah? Omar Lei, Tanino Moide Rabbi Yossi B'Shnei Yom Tovim Shel Galuyos. Sie gewahren finster in der Egen, they say in Yiddish. He turns around and says, Rabbi Yossi holds in Chutz La'aretz, there's 2 Kedushas. And he's thinking to himself, Rav Sheshes, Rabbeinu Shalom, what did I do? In front of Rav Nachman, in front of Rav Chizda, I refused to eat the venison because I held it's 1 Kedusha, because I thought Rabbi Yossi said it's 1 Kedusha in Chutz La'aretz. And here comes Rabbi Bar Shmuel and says, no, Rabbi Yossi admits it's considered 2 Kedushas, he could have had some venison. Is it this starting to ring a bell, this Maisa? Please don't tell Rav Nachman and Rav Chizda. What?
It's like you said, do me a favor, don't tell the Rish Kavusa what I
Exactly. Nachman got it. And guess what? It's the same people. It's the same person. It's Rav Sheshes, and the person he asked is the same person and the same outcome. We had then the funny story where they held a certain Tzuras HaPesach was okay, and Rav Nachman went ahead and made a whole balagan in the Reish Golus' backyard. Rav Sheshes sent Gada to knock it down. They took Gada, put him in jail, and then he said, Rav Sheshes started screaming, Gada, come out of jail. So they took him out of jail, but then Rav Sheshes realized, based on Rabbi Bar Shmuel, that he made a mistake. And he tells Rabbi Bar Shmuel, don't tell anybody what you told me. But they explain over there, he wasn't trying to hide it, he wanted to tell him himself, he wanted to be made himself. Perhaps that's the same shot over here. L'char is the same, if you're going to say shot over there like that. But it's very interesting, the same story, different story, it's a different thing. Over there it said the same words.
No, here he explains, the no practical nafkamina. Over there, he messed up the guy's property. It was Kalusa.
Who says that pshat?
No, over there.
You're saying pshat, okay.
He himself has to go to Rish Kalusa and tell him, if I tell him, it would be better.
I know, but there's no such thing as embarrassment in Torah. If you make a mistake in Torah, you got to come clean. You can't be embarrassed. I don't believe that Rav Sheshes wanted to hide the fact that he admits that this is the halacha. He has to get up in front of everyone and say, this is the halacha. He just said, I want to do it. You don't be the one telling everybody I made a mistake. Says the Gemara, no, Nachman wants to make a nafkamina, a very nice nafkamina, that over there, Rav Sheshes caused property damage. And over here, there's no nafkamina. He didn't want to eat venison, so it's his problem. You don't have to tell everybody I made a mistake. Nevertheless, I think it's a mistake in halacha. And he said, okay. Based on this, Rashi paskins, he says over here, psak, interesting Rashi. Dibra Maskal, psak. He says a psak that we paskin that it's 2 kedushas and has nafkaminas to different things. Okay. Omar lei, don't tell anybody I made a mistake. Says Rav Ashi, this is not what happened. This is a story that never existed. Meimar told me, the story that happened with the venison, it's not pshat that somebody trapped a deer on the first day of Yontif and they shechted it on the second day. That's not what happened. Because if that's what happened, everybody would admit you're allowed to eat the deer. Not a problem. It's a completely different problem. It's a problem of chutz l'tchum. It's a problem that they brought the venison from a distance. That's the problem. Man dochal. Rav Nachman Rav Chizdu ate this venison. Sovar haba b'shvil Yisrael zeh mutal Yisrael acher. When it comes to Issa Deraisa, if a guy turns on something, he cooks a meal for Ruvain, it's also for Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, it's also for everybody. It's Deraisa. But when it comes to the Issa of Tchum, we all paskin, besides Rabbi Kiva and Meir, Tchum is the Rabbah. So if a guy is over on Tchum, and he brings a package, an Amazon package for Ruvain, Shimon could benefit from it. And what about Rav Sheshas? Called the Asi LeBeirish Gelusa. Adaita the Kul Rabbanan. I'm looking here, and it seems like La Halacha. It's passing like that. And it's a good svar over here. He's right, La Halacha. That what? Rabbi Sanoy, he asked me if he should bring in all the presents that we got yesterday, a bunch of different beautiful wines and stuff. But we're running to Slicha, so we don't have time. But I appreciate every single gift. One of them was anonymous. Forrest Yatir, whoever you are, the name didn't appear. Nice card without a name, so please let me know who you are. I'd like to be Makar Toiva. Anyway, so moving on. Called the Asi L'Beirish Gelusa Adaita the Kulu Rabbanan Asi. That was you. I know every single person is going to start saying it's you. But there's a certain simon. It wasn't Nachman Seltzer. Nachman Seltzer gave me his Zera Shimshon 3rd volume book. No, I'm just whatever book. Called the Asi L'Beirish Gelusa Adaita the Kulu Rabbanan Asi. So Rav Shesh's Tain is Moiridik. Who's in the Rosh Golus' house? All of Klal Yisrael, they come there, and when the guy brings venison to the Rosh Golus, it's for everybody, including me. He did it for me. Oh, he did it for me, I can't eat it. But what about the whole story? Ashkechei, we all got excited. It reminds us of that Amud Aleph and Eruvin. Ashkechei, Rav Shesh's LeRav Bar Shmuel, v'amalei lehoyu dvarma. V'amalei, there's a whole story, and he told him, and I'm embarrassed, let me tell it myself. Lehoyu dvarma olam. Ahu lifta. There was a turnip. Huh? Even a story in the Gemara. Yes. I coined the phrase. I'm sure it's me. I never heard it before, and it picked up like wildfire in Chaim Berlin when I was there. Maisa shekemataya. It's a maisa. There's a lot of truth. It almost happened. Ahu lifta. This is loy hayid. It's like efes, 0. It never happened. You're mixing up another story with the Erev maybe, but that's not what happened over here. Ahu lifted us in the Mechayza. There was a turnip that showed up. He had 2 feet. He walked into Mechayza. Nafak Rava Chazid the Chemisha. Rava looks at the turnip. He says, wow, I could tell it's starting to rot. You know, it didn't just come out of the ground. In other words, we're not a problem, no problem of mukta. If it was in the ground today, it's mukta. Not a problem of mukta. Shara Rava lemizba minei. So Rava said, everybody could buy it. Omar, Hovade me'etmol nekra, certainly it was uprooted yesterday, no mukta. Mayamers, but what are you going to say? Maybe the guy brought it from out of the tchum. However, and this is also halacha l'maisa, if the guy brought it for one Jew, in other words, mutar le'echol Yisrael acher, we know la halacha, if he brings it for Ruvain, Shimon could eat it, but certainly says, Rava, the Kolchkin Haida Daita the Nachramasa, certainly this case where it came for the Goyim in the city, most of the people there were Goyim, so you're allowed to buy it on Shabbos, you need it on Shabbos, you buy it, you don't pull out your cash, you do whatever you need to do, la halacha, to purchase it, you buy it on credit, if you need it, Yantiv, Shabbos, whatever the halacha is. Even the Chazad, the Komapshayum Maisilu, since he noticed that these Goyim are bringing many turnips, Asar Lahu. Rabbi Isai, I had an unbelievable picture for this. And I came to Beis Medrash all excited, and they told me it's probably not a good idea to show the picture Erev Rosh Hashanah. So, but I couldn't control myself. I had to bring it anyway. But I doctored it up a little bit. It might insult people. Again, so I'll ask you Mechila next Rosh Hashanah if this insults you. Look at what I found online. 3 goyim. Now I had to cover their noses because that would have mamish pig she'en kemayu. But now, with a little mask, I covered the schnatzes. you could maybe think that it's not a PIG, but they're schlepping turnips. It's unbelievable. I thought it's unbelievable. It's mamish. No? Okay, listen. I didn't have any other charts for today. What am I going to do? We don't like turnips. So he says, look what's happening. All the goyim. I couldn't even put chelos on these guys. They have to be goyim. The goyim started bringing in turnips. They realized, there's a market on Shabbos. They're using credit. They're using the credit card on Shabbos. Let's bring in the turnips. So then he said, once they're bringing the turnips to the Jews, that changes the halacha. Asaluhu. It's not for the goyim anymore. It's for you guys. Can't bring it. Says the Gemara, Hanu b'nei Genana, these people that were building canopies, the Gozalu Asa, the goyim were chopping down hadassim beyond of Sheni. On what day? The second day of Yom Tov. What's an nafkamina? Huge nafkamina. It's the second day of Yom Tov. Lu'urta sharlu Ravina la'iruchebe. At night, Ravina, without even kadeshi yasu, without any time of how long does it take to cut it, he let them use it, smell it, bay la'alter, immediately after Shabbos. Why? Because it's only the second day of Yom Tov. It's only the Rabbanon. We don't have to be makbid. Omalei Rava bar Tachlifa leRavina. Leiser lu'mar mipnei she'ena b'nei Torah. We had already Masechta Shabbos. It's even brought down here on the side, Daf Kuf Lamed Tes. I'm sure Ari Rosenstein remembers this sugya. The whole sugya over there, Kshuta and bearing a mace, B'yant of Sheni, even the second day of Rosh Hashanah, the Gemara brings over there. We treat people that are Maritzim differently. We put on the chumras on them because they don't know what they're doing. Okay, so these people also, they're not B'nai Torah. Kshuta b'karma. Says the Gemara, it seems like the whole problem is that they're not Tamid Chacham, B'nai Torah Shari, V'abeina and B'chdei Shiyasu. So there's a whole long Taisus here. It starts over here. If you want to see Taisus, it starts all the way on Daf Lamed Tes Amud Beis, and he brings the Shita of Rashi. B'chdei Shiyasu means literally, however long it takes you to go snip to Hadas. How long does it take? Usually about 2 seconds, not even. Taisvis, on the other hand, all the way, you have to go all the way. He brings a shita that it's as long as it takes you to travel there and organize all your tools and snip, put it in the bag, schlep it all the way back, that could be 2 hours. So it's an nafkamina of 2 seconds and 2 hours. But whatever that shear is, that's how much you have to wait, Matzei Shabbos, until you can start smelling it. So they asked Rava argues, and he says, no, you have to wait b'chdei shiyasu. It's not like Ravina said that you could just use it right away and smell it right away. Even Yom Tov Sheni, that's the Rabbanon, you have to wait b'chdei shiyasu. Rabbi Yisai, I think it's incredible. I can't get over it. I really can't get over it. That we're hours here in Eretz Yisrael, just hours away from Rosh Hashanah, from Shemona Esrei Rosh Hashanah, and what are we learning about Shemona Esrei Rosh Hashanah? The Hashgacha Pratis, that in Masechtas Eruvin, we're not learning Rosh Hashanah, we're Masechtas Eruvin, a whole Mishnah, a whole sugya of Rosh Hashanah, 2 days Rosh Hashanah. Yesterday we explained it better. Why is there? And today it's all about the Shemona Esrei of Rosh Hashanah. It's incredible to me. I looked it up. Next cycle, we're going to be in Chav Gimel Shvat. This Daf Chav Gimel Shvat, no, in the middle of nowhere, where it belongs. There's going to be something. Okay, listen. Hashgacha Pratis Shein K'mayu. You sure? Okay, it's your idea, stuff. Yitoka b'shoifa gadai, Yitoka b'shoifa gadai, V'oigdim b'yeretz Ashur, Nidochim yeretz Mitzrayim, Nidochim yeretz Mitzrayim, V'ishtachavu l'Hashem, V'yara koidesh b'Yerushalayim, Ishtachavu l'Hashem, V'yara koidesh b'Yerushalayim. Shkoyach Nachman. Any excuse to sing that song? Rabbi Yisai, Nachman Salz from Miami Boys. Forget the author, Miami Boys. All right, we had him. He was going to be our chazan, and 2 days ago, oh no, I have to go. Okay. Halavai, the Yishur doesn't come in. The boy say, Kapitel Tehillim, that Nachman can't go to the yeshiva and daven there, he's going to have to daven for us. Shem Alois. Omer Avigi Avinu Bei Ravuna I Boilu. Ma'u Lahaskes Rosh Chodesh B'Rosh Hashanah. In Musaf of Rosh Hashanah, do we mention anything about Rosh Chodesh? It happens to be Rosh Chodesh. Says the Gemara, what's the Shailo? Kiv in the Chalukim B'Musafim. Think about it. On Rosh Hashanah in the Beis HaMikdash, they brought a special carbon for Rosh Chodesh. They weren't mistapik. They didn't say it's enough. Oh, I'm bringing a carbon for Rosh Hashanah. Bringing a carbon for Rosh Chodesh also. So if so, in the Shemona Esrei, you have no business not mentioning it. Shouldn't you mention it? We say, what's the lashon? Yomi Eruvin and Rosh Chodesh. Rashi brings this is also called Zichron v'Hayulachem and Zichron Trua for Rosh Hashanah. So it accomplishes both things. Oh, my Lont Nisua. Isn't that what we just learned yesterday in the Mishnah? If somebody goes in Teva, you should say, remember, you say it. My lav lahaskir. Isn't that what he says? And Chachamim argue with him. What does it mean? Because when we learned the Mishnah, Rabbi Doisa says, Rabbi Doisa ben Hirkanos says, you have to make a t'nai when you say it. If today's Rosh Chodesh, some saying you Rosh Chodesh. And if today's not Rosh Chodesh, tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh, the second day of Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Chodesh. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, forget what I'm saying now. So that's not what he's saying. Rav Doisa was saying the t'nai part, but everybody agrees. There's no machlokes, everybody agrees that you have to be masculine maybe. There's a brayso that says, this, whatever it is, he used to do it on a regular Rosh Chodesh that he wasn't sure, did they make Rosh Chodesh yet, did they not make Rosh Chodesh yet? So he would make this, he would mention it and make a stipulation. If today is Rosh Chodesh, then I'm mentioning it. If not, forget about it, Hashem. And on that there was an argument. Now, what did they argue on? That you don't mention it? Everybody agrees that you say, there's no problem to mention Rosh Chodesh in a regular Shemona Esrei, in a weekday on a Rosh Chodesh. So it has to be that the argument was the t'nai part. So what? The argument about whether or not you stipulate, and we're going to explain what's so bad about stipulating, making a t'nai. So then why do they have to argue on Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Chodesh? Just one argument. Do you make a t'nai while you're davening Shemona Esrei or not? Tzricha. There's a big enough community in Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Chodesh. The Yashmin Rosh Hashanah. If I stipulate, I start making. If I say mefurish and I say it out loud, if today is Rosh Hashanah, great. But if today is not Rosh Hashanah, people are going to hear that today's not Rosh Hashanah. They're going to start doing malacha. I don't know what. See, you don't want to mention that. Maybe Rabbanan say it's not a problem to make a stipulation. The stipulation has in it a bad taste for Rosh Hashanah. If we just said that the machlokes is an irregular Rosh Chodesh Kislev, that Reb Doisa said you can make a t'nai. Maybe when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, even Reb Doisa says it's a terrible thing to do. Don't make a stipulation. People are going to hear it in shul. They're going to hear the chazan saying it loud. But if today is not Rosh Hashanah, and they're going to say that I'm sitting here in shul for 5 hours, maybe it's not Rosh Hashanah, they're going to hate it. In the sun, in the heat, Hashem Yirachim, without Nachman Sel says the chazan. What's going on here? With Rabbi, okay, fine. I was going to say a joke about Tkiyas, but I just asked everybody Mechila. Okay, fine. Meisvei, Rosh Hashanah Shechalis b'Shabbos. What? Rosh Hashanah Shechalis b'Shabbos. Is there a coincidence? There's no such thing as coincidence. Mikra, Mashem, Karazois. This is unreal. You're learning this, you're going crazy. Rosh Hashanah Shechalis b'Shabbos this year. B'Shama Yoimrim, Hashem is he's petting us. He's saying, my tire kind, I'm here. That's what he's doing. 10 brachas. Now, typical Shemona Esrei in Rosh Hashanah is 9 brachas. How? The 3 that we do every single day. Shlish Rishonis, Shlish Achronis. The center ones, the middle ones, are Malchuya, Zechroinos, and Shofrois. Together you have 9. Beishama comes along and says you have to add another one. Why? For Shabbos. A special bracha for Shabbos. You stick it in there. Mekadesh HaShabbos v'Yisrael v'yoyim hazikaron. Okay. V'misa Beishama yachad esrei miboilei. According to Beishamai, who says you have to make a new bracha for Shabbos, you have to make a new bracha for Rosh Chodesh. Now, today, Rabbi Isa, it's a very sad day. It's the last and final day that we're sponsoring Lilu Nishmas Asher's mother, Roiza Bas Minyamin. I got that straight. Make it a great year. Rabbi Isa, you could choose whether or not you're going to make it a great year or not. Unbelievable. Says Avi, that's a bigger sponsorship. We'll throw it in for Asher. And by Dr. Listhouse, who's a big tzaddik. I'm not such a big tzaddik. I didn't help him out. I tried. I made some phone calls. I tried. We'll get it done, Be'ez Hashem, even before Yantiv. Don't kill me. Lili Nishmas, his father, Mordechai Yosef ben Aaron Listhouse. All right, so Omer Abzeira. Shani Rosh Chodesh. Don't bring a raya from Rosh Chodesh. Mitoich shekoilo. So, Nachamal, according to Bishamai, there should be an extra bracha. Says no, Bishamai doesn't need an extra bracha in Rosh Hashanah. Why? There's a concept called koilo. No koilo jokes today. Koilo. We include in Shachris and Mincha, Ma'ariv, we don't have a special bracha ever for Rosh Chodesh. It's included. We throw it in somewhere. Yal V'yavai. But it's not a special B'yom Rosh Chodesh Hazeh or whatever we say in Musaf. The koilo. So we say Mekadesh HaShabbos Rosh Chodashim. Okay? So once we come onto the concept of koilo by Shachar, so we do that also by Musaf. Ask the Gemara, Mi Islu B'Shamai koilo. Do they hold of this at all? Vatanya Rosh Chodesh Shechali is b'Shabbos. When Rosh Chodesh falls out on Shabbos, B'Shamai Oimrim. On Musaf, we're talking about here, Musaf, Mispal Shmoina, Ubisaloim, Mispal Sheva. Now, let's just jump to Rashi for 1 second. Rashi did Masal Kasha. I love, for the last 3 days, we're doing the Rashi in the center of the daf. We yaitze like this, all Rashis. Kasha, Ushmamina, Kivin, the Bishar Shabbos is Kabayu, Beishamai, Brachel, Rish Chodesh, Rish Chodesh, Loibau. Since on every Shabbos, on every Shabbos, Beishamai say there's a special bracha for Rosh Chodesh, yeah? You say Mekadesh HaShabbos v'Rosh Chodashim u'Rosh Hashanah lo'ibou, but on Rosh Hashanah they don't say you need a bracha. The time Mishum Zikaron the Rosh Hashanah oilalai. You see from here that the fact that I say Yom HaZikaron Hazeh, that's enough for Rosh Chodesh. U'Shma Mina afilu michlelei v'atkur nami loy be'inon. You don't even need to mention it, and therefore Kashya. You don't have to mention it at all. So why are you telling me that every single person holds that you mention it? And the whole machlokes is, could you make a t'nai? But you do mention it. Here, Bishamai don't mention it. Says the Gemara, kasha. Okay, kasha is not the end of the world question. There's ways out of it, but it's a kasha. I forgot where we're holding. V'koil atzmoi tanai. By the way, the whole idea of whether or not you invoke this concept of koil. In other words, so you have Shachris and Mincha and Ma'ariv on Rosh Chodesh Shabbos. What do? Rosh Chodesh Shabbos, Shachris. Does everybody hold? You just koil? You just throw it in somewhere in the middle of the bracha? You say V'yom Chodesh Hazeh, whatever. The Shabbos Shechalu is Rosh Chodesh. Oy b'choil Shemayed. Arv Shachris u'Mincha Mispal Kedar Kesheva. You just say the regular bracha. V'oimer me'ein ha'ma'oira ba'avoda. He says the Yalav Yavai. Basically something like we say today, Yalav Yavai. By Ritzei. Which, by the way, Reb Lezer Oimer b'hoida. Hoida, and that's what we're talking about. Hoida. The bracha of Moedim. Al nisecha sheb'chol yoim imanu. The nisim HaKadosh Baruch Hu does. Al niflo yisecha v'tov yisecha sheb'chol leis. The oxygen, all that stuff. Haida, that's where we say it. Where? Something like Al Anisim, Rashi says. So either Yalav Yavai, Al Anisim, the point is, it's not its own bracha. It fits in somewhere. And if he forgets to say it, so of course, depending, if you don't go back, sometimes you go back to the beginning of the bracha. If you forget it right after Val Kulam, so you go back to Ritzei. If you already do Oisa Shalom or whatever the Yolashon that you say you finish Shmoneh Esrei, then you have to go back all the way to the beginning of Shmoneh Esrei. Whatever the halachas that we learned in brachas. Ubemusafin matchil b'shel Shabbos u'misayim b'shel Shabbos. So in Musaf, you say something, says Rashi, Vatitin lanu tziyom hamanoyach hazeh. You start off like with a Shabbos. U'misayim b'shel Shabbos mikadish ha-Shabbos. V'oim megiddush ha-yom be'emtza. You say Yoim Rosh HaChodesh Hazeh, but you don't finish the bracha according to this man Damar. You don't finish the bracha with Rosh Chodesh. Reb Shimon Gamliel, Reb Shmuel, Bnei Shur, Reb Yochanan, and Broik Oimrim. You see, they go together. These two. It's a pair. Reb Shimon Gamliel, we had it yesterday, the day before. Reb Shimon Gamliel, Reb Shmuel, Bnei Shur, Reb Yochanan, Broik Oimrim. Kol Malkam Shezok L'Sheva. Matchil, anytime there's 7, doesn't mean it. Shachris and Mincha as well. Matchil b'shel Shabbos, u'mesayim b'shel Shabbos, v'oimer kedushas hayoim be'emtza.
Someone texted me anonymously for your wife Figgy, for all that she does for the job.
Yishkoyach. Yeshua, thank you so much. Yishkoyach for Mr. Anonymous and the Anonymous. U'mesayim b'shel Shabbos, v'oimer kedushas hayoim be'emtza. Akoponim, you see, that only Reb Shimon Gamliel and Reb Shmuel Bnei Shur hold the concept of koilel. So that's it. But it's a machlokes. Do you say koilel? You not say koilel? According to Reb Shimon Gamliel, you do. According to Tanna Kama, you don't. So it's a machlokes. My havi Allah. What bottom line is? So we have to know from Rosh Hashanah today. Do we mention Rosh Chodesh in Shmoneh Esrei of Rosh Hashanah? Omer Rav Chisda zikaron echad oila l'kan, and we know this already. You don't mention Rosh Chodesh. There's no mention of Rosh Chodesh, even though it is Rosh Chodesh, even though in the Beis HaMikdash you brought a carbon for Rosh Chodesh, a musaf for Rosh Chodesh. Over here, we just say Yom HaZikaron. So it's something very interesting. I'm thinking about it now, not when I was learning about it, I'm thinking now. So when we say Yom HaZikaron Hazeh, we should have in mind for Rosh Chodesh. Why not? It includes Rosh Chodesh. And that's the only reason why we don't say Rosh Chodesh specifically, because we're saying Yom HaZikaron Hazeh. So if we can't remember, let's remember. B'chein Amar Rabbo, or whatever the gear says on the side here, or Rava. Zikar dechad oile lekano lekano. Okay. V'amar Rabba. Ki havino bei Rav Huna iboilon. When I was by Rav Huna, I asked him a question. Ma'oloi merz man b'roish hashona b'yom HaKippurim. Do we say Shechiyanu? Shechiyanu. We're talking about Shechiyanu tonight. We're going to say Shechiyanu. Do you say Shechiyanu or not? On Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. What's the Shiloh? Keeping them is man what? 3 minutes. Okay, we got to finish a little earlier. Keeping this man is man osi amrinon. Since it comes once a year, you should say like anything else. Or dilmo keeping though the ikru regalim. Rosh Hashanah is not called a regel. It's not as man simchaseinu maybe, but it's not a regel. It's not one of the shlosh regalim le'amrinon. Lo have biyode. He didn't know. Now let me ask you a question. I think the pshat is pashut. What? Rav Huna didn't remember what he said last year. I mean, Rav Huna lived. He was let's say he was 40 years old. What did he do last year? What did he do the year before? He didn't say Shechianu. So as we're going to see in the Gemara, of course he said Shechianu. He wasn't sure if you're mechuyev to say Shechianu. You say Shechianu. He didn't know the answer. Kisoy bei Rav Huna, kisoy bei Rav Yehuda, Omar, ano akora chadato nami amin zman. Unbelievable. On a squash, on a gourd, on a pumpkin. If I get a new one, I've never seen it. Tonight we're going to do Shechianus. So on a little fruit that you call it chvei star this, that you say Shechianu, but on a beautiful Rosh Hashanah you don't say Shechianu. Now a lot of kids, they're like, ugh, Rosh Hashanah, I have to sit in shul for 5 hours, so maybe it's not such a geshmak thing for them. But us adults, we know what Rosh Hashanah is. Without Rosh Hashanah, half of us would be gone maybe from COVID, and who knows what. Rosh Hashanah saved us. Rosh Hashanah is gewaldik. By the way, real quick, I know we have to go. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says that when we say Shechianu, and it's gewaldik to remember, say Shechianu tonight, a person should have in mind, Shechianu v'kimanu, like Baruch Hu gave us last year, decided that we have oxygen this year. They have our eyesight. We have our hearing. That we found them DY. Whatever. Shechianu v'kimanu. That's not Shechianu on an apple that goes in the honey, on a pomegranate. On our life, our beautiful things. Okay, it all ties in. Yes.
We should remind Olam on the school law for how to make sure you Daf Yomi for the rest of
Oh, you hold on to what? To the daf? To the madaf? Madaf, yeah. If you're into those gulas, yeah. Avi says you can hold on to a shelf, and it's my daf, right? My daf Yomi, something like that. Okay. Yishkoyach Avi. By the way, Rabbi said we're in for a lot of trouble. Whatever you do today on Rosh Hashanah, that lasts for the rest of the year. We're going to have ha'aris every single day from Avi, the baskol coming out of the TV on the back of the base managers. Says the Gemara, okay, sorry, Rav Yehuda, my question wasn't if you should say Shechiyanu if you feel like it. Is it an obligation? It's not an obligation. Meisvei, question. It says in the pasuk, give us a portion, l'shiva, and for 8-minute daf. Rebbe Lezer Omer, shiva elu shiva simei bereishis. It's referring to the 7 days of bereishis. Shmoina elu shmoina simei mila. Rebbe Shua Omer, shiva elu mei shiva simei pesach. Pesach is 7 days in Eretz Yisrael. You add another day over there or more in America. Shmoina elu shmoina simei chag. Sukkot has with a Shmini Atzeres is 8. Ukshu Omer v'gam. What is the word v'gam? L'rabbeis atzeres shvuos v'rosh Hashanah v'yom kippurim. Oh, my lav lizman. Doesn't it mean to say that you should say Shechiyanu on Rosh Hashanah? Lo lebracha. They say Mekadesh Yisrael. Zmanim. Okay. Hochenami mistabro. These are kodal lizman because if you're referring to Shechiyanu, zman kol shiva mika, you don't say Shechiyanu every single day. That's not a good proof. It just means you're allowed to say it throughout the 7. If you forget it, on the first day you could say it throughout the 7. But where are you going to get a cup of wine in the middle of Chalamayid? Whereas it wasn't so shchiach. Rav Nachman, Zman Omer afilu b'shuk, you could say Shechiyanu anywhere, even without wine. In a situation where you came with a cup, then you should say Shechiyanu. Ask the Gemara real quickly. Should we do this? Oh, we have a meeting. We're going to dive in here? Unbelievable. Yeah, if I don't finish the daf the whole year, I won't finish the daf. What's going on? Oh, what time is Rosh Hashanah's daf here? What time? Oh, we don't have. We have to go over there. So we'll go over there. We'll be 2 minutes late. It's an hour slicha. So you miss. You'll have 58 minutes to sleep. Not another. All right. Says the Gemara, daf here on Rosh Hashanah, 4 o'clock. If anybody has something else to say about it, let me know. I'm just making it up now. 4 o'clock. How could you make a Shechiyanu on a cup of wine on Yom Kippur? How can you drink it? If he's going to make a bracha and drink it, once he says Shechiyanu, he just accepted Yom Kippur. If it's in the beginning of Yom Kippur, the best is right before Yom Kippur comes in, but once he says Shechiyanu, bam, it became Yom Kippur for you. Remember this Gemara in Shabbos. Rav made a mistake. The clouds came in. He thought that it's already Shabbos. So he said, what should I do? And he says, did you accept Shabbos? Yes. So you see that davening, you accept Shabbos. Saying Shechiyanu, you accept Yom Kippur. Make a bracha on it and just put it down. You got to taste it. Stam say bari gefen without. Give it to a child. You can't give it to a child because maybe the child would grow up and think you can drink wine on Yom Kippur. May have Allah. Do you say Shechiyanu on Rosh Hashanah on Yom Kippur? Shadru Abon Rav Yemar Soba Kamid Rav Chizda B'Mali Yomi Eruvin. They sent him there to check it out. Omrulei Zil Chazi Heicha Aveduvda. I want you to check out what Rav Yemar does. Rav Chizda. Toimelan, tell us. Ki Chazi Rav Chizda saw him. Omerlei Dalyu L'Retiva Rav Solei B'Duchte. Why does a person pick up wet wood? He has nothing to do with it. Obviously, he needs the place. Why is he here now? Obviously, he came to check me out. Aisulei Kasa the Chamra Kodesh V'Mazman. He gave him some wine. He made a bracha and he said Shechiyanu v'Hilchasa. The halacha is Oimer Zman b'Rosh Hashanah b'Yom Kippur. You say Shechiyanu Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. V'Hilchasa. Zman Oimer Afil Bashuk. You say it even in the marketplace. Rabbi says it's exactly 8 o'clock. Beautiful. Has a levai every day. We should finish exactly on time. L'shana Tova tikosevu sichaseimu la'ad l'chaim tov u'shalom ksiv chasim tova gut ben shior. You make Shechiyanu, you don't say what? Motzei Yontiv 9 o'clock, Rabbi say 9:15. 9:15. What the time? 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock.